here with Mr. Zach Boren. How you doing today, buddy?
Thanks for having me, man. I'm good. It's a Monday, but hanging out here with you guys, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, and so we're live right here in the Obets, right in front of the gun range counter for their rentals. So you can't beat that, man. You got some nice Glocks behind you, which we'll get into here in a minute, too. I put you here on purpose.
I know. Is that why you put me here?
We put you here on purpose.
Perfect.
And as always, the man behind the plan, Mr. Ben Johnson's here as well.
I'm here. Yep. Glad to be here. Thanks for coming out.
Of course, man.
Yeah. So for those of you who are local to Central Ohio, you may recognize this guy. He's got his name on several trash dumpsters. But more importantly, Ohio State football, probably folklore legend now at this point.
I don't know about that. You know, you can't use legend in my name, but yeah, it goes hand in hand on my trash cans, right?
Yeah.
So no, man, it was a fun ride, and now I'm in the trash world, so it's good. It goes hand in hand, right? Blue collar people, man.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been looking to add some local players on here. Schleg's obviously hooked us up with you. For those listening, he was on episode 6, I believe. So he is an Ohio State football legend, both on the field and then post when he's body slamming dudes, streaking across the field. But which we had fun with him talking about that. So, and you had recently tagged us. You recently purchased, like I said, we got you here in front of the Glock. I know you purchased your first pistol here from us, and so that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. But before we dive into all that stuff, man, let's go ahead and go way back, pre-trash days, and let's talk about yourself and kind of introduce who you are, man.
Yeah, so grew up here in Pickerington, Ohio, one of 4 kids. Grew up in a sport household, you know, ever since we were little. We were going to sporting fields, and that's just what we did. My dad played football at Michigan. My mom ran track at Michigan, so that's how they met. And then my dad was originally from Columbus, so they moved back here. And grew up in Pickerington, Ohio, suburb of Columbus, and ended up going to Pickerington Central and love Pickerington Central. What they did for me from the standpoint of taking me and building me as a young man from high school to college. Yeah. I was fortunate enough to play as a freshman at Ohio State, and the whole reason why I think I was able to do that was because of what Pickerington Central gave me, from the football program to the school in itself. Sure. Walking into a locker room of 85 dudes from across the country that are the best at what they do, right?
Yep.
I mean, you walk in Ohio State's locker room, you are in the best of the best. And so the traits that they instilled in me, and obviously growing up in a very competitive household, helped me with my success at Ohio State. Yeah, man.
And so you mentioned growing up with a family of 4 in terms of siblings. I know your 2 brothers played.
Yep.
Is it which one was
Justin? It was started at Michigan and then came. Yeah.
I remember seeing that every time that there would be like a game on TV. They would always be like, Justin transferred from Michigan down to Ohio State. Justin transferred from Michigan to Ohio State.
Always, right?
I mean, that's like a cardinal sin. But we won't give them trouble for going up there in the first place. I mean, your parents kind of set the bar pretty low for you guys. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right? No, it's it's funny. He's the first one to ever do it, and I think no one else has done it since then. And
right decision.
I mean, he wanted that recruitment is so crazy, and there's so many backstories to it. He wanted to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
We grew up massive Michigan fans. But he desperately wanted to go to Ohio State, wanted to stay in Columbus, wanted to be close to home. Coach Tressel and Coach Fickle were recruiting him so hard.
Yeah.
And he was literally about to commit to Ohio State, and my dad was super close with Bo Schembechler, who, one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Sure.
And my dad calls Bo, obviously to let him know, hey, Bo, just so you know, because Bo still had an office at the football facility, was still heavily involved in the football program. It was like, hey, I want you to hear this from me first. Justin's going to go to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Bo's like, bullshit, he's not going there. You guys come up here. Let me talk to him. And like, okay. So that following weekend, we went up and we sat in Bo's office for 4 hours.
That's
literally hung out with him. He basically read Justin the right act, and less than a week later, Justin committed to Michigan. Yeah. And so, Lloyd Carr, my dad was there when Lloyd Carr was coaching.
Yep.
He was assistant coach then. And so my brother felt really comfortable with that coaching staff, and they still had the traditions that we knew what Michigan was all about.
Yeah.
And so then when Rich Rodriguez came in there, basically flipped the traditions
Yeah.
upside down and was like, I'm creating a new Michigan. This isn't the Michigan of old.
Yeah.
This is kind of my way. And Justin, being the hard-headed guy he is, was like, no, not happening. I'm not in this. So he told my parents, hey, I'm either transferring to Ohio State or I'm quitting football.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we went up to actually Kalahari Resort up in Lake Cedar Point area.
Yeah, Sandusky.
Yeah, Sandusky, and went up there for a weekend. And this was in the middle of the winter, and we kind of had a coming to Jesus as a family. It was like, hey, if we're doing this, we obviously know there's going to be a whole bunch of blowback, right?
Yeah,
And but we got to commit to it, and so that's what we did. We got together and was like, this decision we're making. And so Justin ended up leaving Michigan. This was like in March. I ended up committing to Ohio State at the end of March, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah, that was right around 09.
Yeah,
or
08.
08.
It was 08.
08,
Yep.
yeah. So he had Tress, which still
Yep.
continued the complete opposite, right? Tress continued the tradition. In
Yes.
fact, Tress started a lot of traditions that we carry through today. And so, yeah, it's like a complete flip, right?
It is. Tress went back to some traditions that they had way back
Yeah,
when.
exactly.
And I know Coach Cooper. Coach Cooper's a great guy. I know Coach Bruce. They were some of the best coaches in Ohio State history. But
Yep.
there were things that they kind of took away from the beginning days. And when Coach Tress came in, he knew the history of Ohio State football. His dad played here in the 40s.
Yeah.
And so. He knew what it meant to be an Ohio State Buckeye. He knew some of the things that they used to do, so brought back some of those older traditions that they still do they still do today.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's cool that we're even talking about this because just this Saturday, I know that you were up at the event. They had a 100th year of the stadium, so this year is the 100th year of the horseshoe. And so you look at the way that thing has grown. I mean, grown and just like figuratively and like physically, it's just wild to see like how much of a difference that really makes, right?
It's wild to think the horseshoe's been around for 100 years. It was a super cool event, but hopefully there's some celebrating in the horseshoe this year, right? That'd be fun.
Yeah. I just heard on the radio the other day too. We haven't played Michigan in 4 years at the stadium. It's been 2018.
Because of COVID year.
2018.
Yeah,
I was fortunate to be there. That was the Lave's come out game, but
that was.
It was what a sweet moment.
Yeah.
But
that's when we were supposed to get absolutely killed, and we came out and hung like 59 on them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was like 62.
You're right, 62, 37.
I remember walking up, and it was like College Game Day was on one side. Fox College Game Day was on the Victory Bell side where the locker room is.
Yep.
Fox was on the rotunda or whatever, the front side, and then the Big Ten tailgate party was over there where the visiting team comes in at. So it was like three media outlets around one building. It was pretty wild, man. But Revenge Tour canceled, but it's all good. Anyway, let's get back to Pick Central and then like your recruiting. So I know you were supposed to be a dual sport athlete, right? We had talked a little bit before we got started here. I think you were the second overall baseball player coming out of the state.
I was. So that was that was a crazy time. I love baseball. My actually great grandpa was the trainer for the Indians back in like the 40s and 50s.
Awesome.
He was on the 1948 World Series team and used to work on Babe Ruth and stuff when he came to town. So it was a cool little thing. But so I grew up in a my mom's side of the family's huge baseball family and loved baseball. Grew up traveling kind of the country for baseball from that standpoint. And when I was going through high school, there was a good chance that I was going to get drafted out of high school. And at that point, it's kind of like you got to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
And I remember having lunch with my high school baseball coach right after my junior year, going into my senior football season, and I was like, I love football. I love baseball. I just can't see myself living without football.
Yeah.
I can kind of do that with baseball. And so I actually made the decision to graduate high school early and get to Ohio State because I wanted to kind of plant my feet in the ground and get that opportunity. If I was going all in at football, I was like, hey, I'm going to go in. I'm going to try and start as a freshman. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And that obviously gave up some of my dream. But then Bob Todd was the baseball coach at Ohio State then, and they were recruiting me really hard, trying to get me to not play football and just play baseball there.
Yeah.
But so I told Coach Todd, I said, hey, I still love baseball. Let me kind of get my feet wet on the football side. Let me make my name known. Let me get the starting position and do that whole thing, and then I'll come over and start working out with the baseball team, and I'll play dual sports.
Yeah.
And so my freshman year goes by. I ended up starting as a freshman, and then my sophomore year goes by, and I told Coach Todd I'd start playing, like getting into my sophomore year and start getting around the team. Well, my sophomore year is when everything happened, right? The whole tattoo gate and the downfall of Coach Tressel and all that turmoil. And so obviously with Coach Fickle coming in, it wasn't the best time to kind of leave the team and say, hey, I'm out, especially being a 2-year starter. And even I was going to my junior year, I was kind of one of the leaders on the team, and I didn't think it was the right time. And so I stayed around for that. And then actually Bob Todd ended up leaving, and Coach Beals came in, and Coach Beals and I got along great. I actually was practicing with the baseball team a little bit after my junior year. And then Coach Meyer came in, and it was one of those things where Coach Meyer was like, hey, I need you here. Like, we can't let you be at the baseball field all the time, especially going through spring practice and literally installing brand new offense, brand new defense, brand new everything. So that was a little difficult. It's probably one of my biggest regrets, not playing baseball at Ohio State and seeing where that went. But man, it's a fun ride. I wouldn't change it for the world. But you obviously look back and say, man, it would have been pretty cool to play 2 sports at a place like Ohio State.
Well, it's hard to make that decision too. No, well, not very many people do it, right? I mean, there's not very many people that are even doing that. And then two, like you're asking these 18, 19, 20-year-old. I mean, you're trying to make the life-changing decisions at 20 years old, 21 years old. Like what's the right answer?
It's tough. It's you don't know what you don't know, and so when you're sitting there, I'm like, if I at 18, 19, 20, if I would have known what I know now, I could fast forward and then go back and be like, all right, I'm going to make a decision. I would have. But at that time, you have no idea. At that point, I'm still so focused on Ohio State football. I'm so focused on an NFL career. At that point, I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to be a 10-year NFL vet, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to worry about baseball. I'm putting everything – and what people don't realize is 365 days out of the year, you are doing – when you're a Division I athlete at a place like Ohio State, you're in the weight room. You're practicing. You're doing all these things. Like, it's not like you've got an off season like a lot. You're playing rec league football. You play it 3 months out of the year, right? The other, you're doing kind of whatever. At a place like Ohio State, it's year round. And so to try and juggle both baseball and football, because I wasn't going to just let football go and take, months off of that. I was still going to have to be around the facility, still work out, do those things. It's tough because you feel like if I'm doing something, I want to go 110%. And I always felt like in the back of my head that if I was away at baseball, that football was only getting 75% of my attention, right? And I wasn't being able to work out as hard as I could. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And it's a tough decision.
Especially in the spring when you guys are, you're in camp, you're doing spring lifts.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time right there. I mean, you're coming right off the off season.
And I'm sure, when Schlegs was on here, I'm sure he talked to you guys. Like, that's when you make your biggest gains, right? After the bowl game, you get like a week and a half, 10 days off, whatever it is. And literally from January, February, March, April, and kind of May, like that's when you make your biggest gains. They don't, they're not having you get bigger, faster, stronger come June, July, because you need to get your body ready for the season, And so you make all of those massive gains and those changes to your body during those 5 months. Well, guess what? Those 5 months are baseball season, right? That's college baseball season. So, so it was tough from that standpoint.
Oh, for sure. So let's go into 2012. I know you were a captain that year as your senior year. I mean, being a captain, especially under a guy as intense as Urban, I think there's that quote that's like, I don't want average. Like, why the hell do I want you here if you're going to give me average? I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. They play that highlight reel just about every football season anytime you talk to him. So as a guy that's like as strict and regimented and very military in his approach, how special was that? And kind of how did that, I'm assuming it did, how did that kind of set you up for just life in general? You know what I mean?
2012 was probably
a roller coaster for sure.
It was a roller coaster, but it was probably my favorite sport year of all time. And so many people talk about like high school football, how great it is because, Friday night lights, you're playing for your hometown, you're playing, we were just talking Newark, right? You're playing in the middle of Newark on Friday night, place is shut down, then afterwards everyone goes and gets pizza, and it's like there's something about your hometown, right? Represent your hometown. And you definitely feel that. When you go to Ohio State, you're playing with guys from Florida, Texas, California, Pennsylvania, everywhere with so many different backgrounds, guys that are so different from you. But that 2012 team was just different. It was the most tight-knit family that I've ever been a part of that you normally get in that high school field, but you had guys from all across the country, all kinds of different backgrounds coming together for that. And Coach Meyer's tough. I love Coach Meyer, still stay in touch with him to this day. But it was a grind, man. Yeah. He came in and his you're exactly right
fall,
with
it's like a fall camp.
Don't be average. Yeah, but his also big quote was what Michael Jordan said was, I'm going to make things so hard that games are easy.
Yeah.
And that was his big thing, right, is he wanted training. He wanted practice. He wanted everything that we did in the off season or during the week so hard that when we got to Saturdays,
it was just routine.
It was routine. It was easy. You didn't have to think about it, right? He didn't want to coast during that stuff and then come Saturday and turn it on.
Yeah.
Saturday should have just been the day to not even think about stuff and show out, right?
Just execute.
Exactly. And so, God, there's so many stories within that year. But, Coach Meyer, man, he's a general, but he's that kind of coach that you want to play for.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's the guy in the locker room that I swear wants to go out and fight the other head coach more than you want to beat the other team's ass, right? I mean, that's just how he is, you know?
Well, it's funny because, like, I'm sitting here and as a fan, you know, I was born with Scarlet and Gray on, right? Like, I've been a fan. I grew up in Ohio my whole life. And you know, seeing these speeches and seeing it, you know, from Tress to, you know, you're going to be proud of our guys in 365 days. Or, you know, the Meyer, like, I don't want average. Why the hell do I want you here if you're going to give me average? Like, as a fan, that stuff gives me cold chills. I can only imagine being the guy that he's actually talking to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially after summer practice and you're freaking drained. Like, I couldn't even imagine. So.
Yeah, and some of the pregame speeches are from Urban are insane, you know. And I love Tress. I saw him Saturday night. Love Tress to death. But you know, Tress is the guy that we're gonna represent ourselves well.
Yep.
We're gonna execute. Here's the game plan. It's kind of like this is what we do.
Yeah, very professional.
Very professional. Where Urban is more cutthroat.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't want to say all over the place, but from the standpoint of I don't care what it takes, whatever they throw at us, guess what? We're coming back even harder, right? They're going to throw punches at us. We know they are. And we're going to come back with as many haymakers as it takes so we knock them out.
I love it, man. That just gets me jacked up. I mean, football season's literally 12 days away. Not that I'm counting or anything, but we're getting set up. But, that 2012 team, man, I'm glad we talked about it because that's, you know, you guys weren't really playing for anything. You know, you had the bowl band and everything. And so it's like the only thing that it's pride. That was a pride season, you know, and you guys showed out and went undefeated that year, got a sweet ring to prove it. And that's as a fan, man, that was just a great year. Especially it set the bar moving forward, right? You know, that 8 years of dominance that was established after that, you can't beat it. So.
Well, I think that's a big thing, right? In 2012, we weren't playing for anything, you know, and I think what drove us a little bit, which is going to drive this year's team, and we're not getting on this year's team, but, you know, in 2011, we had the first losing season in 100 years in Ohio State football history. Like,
that's rough.
You know, that's rough, right? You think of, we just talked about 100 years of the horseshoe, right? Yeah. Imagine that, 100 years of Ohio State football. And we had the first losing season in 100 years in 2011. You're like, man, like it just puts a bad taste in your mouth. And so when Urban came in, that message was sent loud and clear. And we were playing for pride, right? We wanted to get 2011 out of our head, and especially the older guys on the team wanted to, send a message that we are good. You know, that there were just so many things thrown at us from the Tress to the end of the Tress era in 2010 through 2011 that, we were much better than that. And so it was totally go out there, take care of business, man, just be a tight-knit family and send a message that Ohio State's back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I was actually at that 2011 Penn State game. I think that was a home game. It was like a night game. And they're coming right off the Sandusky stuff.
Yep.
And so that was like, and I think we lost. Yeah, we lost that game. And it was like, what the hell? But
I think we did lose it, and then we also in 2011 won the Wisconsin night game that people see where Braxton threw with time left on the clock, right?
Yeah, I was in Ocean City. I was in September. I was at end of September. I remember exactly. It's one of those games you know exactly. I was in a bar at Ocean City for a car show, and they had it on, dude. And it was like, I'm 400, 500 miles away.
Yeah.
And it was like, you knew there were people there. Hell yeah! It was crazy.
Wild.
It was crazy. Braxton's a special guy for sure. All right, everyone, we need to take a quick break to thank our sponsor, Toby Burdett, with Burdett Taxidermy and Legends Big Game Recovery. As hunters, we always strive to make the best shot possible, but sometimes things just happen. If you're in Ohio or the surrounding states and you find yourself in a situation where you need help tracking, give him a call at 740-281-6435. Thanks, everyone. Good luck this hunting season. Now let's get back into the conversation. But we didn't have you here. I mean, we had you here to talk about football, but we're standing here in front of the gun counter. So we'll tie this back around to why we got you in. So about a couple months ago, I think at this point, you tagged us on a Twitter post, and I'm running the social media kind of collaborative effort here with some of the guys on the team, and I saw that and I was like, oh shit, like I know that name, like that's Zach. And then I was like, so you came in, you bought your first pistol, Glock 43.
Yep.
And as a Glock 43 owner, I'm proud. I pulled up the receipt. Sorry,
I love it. No, I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to make sure I knew what he bought, but I'm a Glock 43 guy too. So constitutional carry just became a thing. What was that? Probably been like a month ago.
Yeah,
maybe?
a month and a half, couple months ago. Yep.
Yeah, at this point. So it was perfect timing for you. You know, we got a lot of interesting trouble happening right now due to some current TikTok trends and stuff. We won't dive down that trail too much, but I know you've experienced some stuff with it. Obviously, we've had our experiences with stuff with it as well. So, with constitutional carry and the ability to protect yourself and your family, kind of give us the rundown of, A, why you wanted to kind of come in and purchase your first firearm, and then B, like just kind of your experience here, like we have a ton of selection and guns behind you for people to try out. And we joked about having the Glocks behind you, but on the other side of the building, we have all the firearm selection as well. So, what made you choose Vance, and then, the decision behind, purchasing that firearm?
First off, I knew Vance was like the only place because Schlegs is a Vance guy, right? It's
Shout
all
out
known
Schlegs.
Schlegs for forever. So, yeah, Schlegs, shout out to you, man. He was the guy. But, no, it's kind of a funny story. We talked a little bit before this. I'm not the biggest hunter just because, it's football season, right?
Sure.
I made a joke that, I'll never miss the Ohio State-Michigan game, in a tree stand. And so that's kind of just why I've never gotten into it so much. And so I just got married about a month and a half ago. Yep. And it was a little bit before that. And it was one of those things that, when you get married and your wife moves in your house, you're like, hey, it's just kind of probably that first time when you have your first kid, right? I don't have a kid yet, but you just go into kind of that father mode. Like, hey, I want to be protective. And so, I knew we live downtown and anything can happen in that area. And so I knew with her kind of living with me, I was like, in case something happens, I want to make sure I'm able to protect her. I don't care about me. When I was living by myself, hey, it is what it is. But I want to make sure I can protect her.
But times are different right now, man. We've had a lot of stuff happen with all the shootings. Looking at like George Floyd stuff or whatever. Like Columbus is going through a rough patch, and especially if you're living downtown, that's where the center of everything's happening.
No doubt. Well, my mother-in-law was in Polaris when the Polaris shooting happened, right? Ended up breaking her arm. So that was a wild story. But so my father-in-law was like, hey, I made the comments to him. My father-in-law carries as well. Okay. He's got his concealed carry and has had it for a long time. Big gun guy. And so he was like, hey, man, if you're serious, let's go to Vance's. Let's take a look. And so it was kind of one of those bonding times, right, with your father-in-law. And we came in here, man, and the staff was great. We came in here kind of knowing exactly what we wanted just because he's a Glock 43 guy. And
it's a great pistol.
Yeah, and so he's like, hey, let's do it. And I've actually shot a Glock 43 before too. One of my buddies has one, and so that was the gun I shot. I'm like, yeah, let's go with that. And so, no, man, the staff was awesome. We came in here. It was a quick process. It was great. We got what we needed. Got a little some accessories or whatever, right? I got, it was awesome. It was actually super exciting to now I carry it and stuff, and you never know when you need it. I told you a story that I needed it for
work.
For work safety reasons about a week and a half ago, right? But if I wouldn't have had that, it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're. It's like the tool that you're glad to have it, but what's the saying? Like you need it when you need it, right?
It's something you never really want to use, but you're glad you have it when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No doubt.
Exactly. Well, and it's important too. So your first time, like I said, first time gun buyer. We're sitting here, and we specifically sat in front of the gun range on purpose because to purchase that gun, you're able to come in here and shoot it, and so you're immediately able. It's not only you're just buying one like you would at another dealer, but you're able to buy it and use it in the same facility, and that makes a big difference, and it helps people get comfortable. And again, to tie back to the Glocks behind you, I mean, I'm looking at 20 Glocks right here behind you. So let's say that you weren't a Glock fan and you wanted to try different versions because you bought a single stack. There's other options available as well.
Yeah.
You can look at SIG. There's
Smith, all of them.
Yeah,
We have a bunch.
I mean, it even comes down to whether or not you want to go with the revolver. Because the revolver is a little bit less mechanical. It's just a little bit more quote unquote easy to use. I mean, they're all fairly easy once you get comfortable with them. But every gun has its different nuance, right? And let's say you didn't know that you wanted to buy that. Well, okay, here's a 43, here's a 20, here's a 22, here's a P365, here's a Smith, MP9. Like, we have them here available for you,
Right.
so that makes a big difference for sure.
No, there's so many, and I think it's a comfortable thing, right? It's I'm not a big gun guy, and so if it would just been one of those things where I came in here by myself to buy a gun and it was in my hands, I wouldn't feel comfortable with it, right? And I like to think I'm comfortable with a lot of things, and so you hit the nail on the head. It's when you come here, it's one of those things you have got so many options. You can shoot it here. You leave here thinking like, man, okay, it's not. I'm not looking at it like I'm scared of it. I'm looking at it like, hey, I can hold this thing.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with it, and I can use it how I need to use it. And I think that's the biggest thing for sure.
Oh, for sure. And we had Linda. I can't remember what episode Linda is. I want to say it's like 12. It's back there a good ways, but maybe even less than that. But Linda Wilson, who's a firearms instructor here, as well as one of our buyers, merchandise buyers, we had her on, and I think what she said about drawing, what she do, draw her gun like every day, every morning, just to see how comfortable it was, situational awareness.
Yeah, the dry fire practice that she does is, it's pretty, I mean, I don't want to say crazy, but she does a lot of practice. I think she said 100 reps or something, like every week or something like that.
Oh, man.
Just dry fire, point at a spot on the wall, because it's one of those things.
I feel like I'm slacking now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's important because, and that's why I wanted to have you here too, because as a first-time gun buyer, especially with constitutional carry, I still think it's very critical and very important to have training, right? Which is stuff that we offer between Weapon Craft Wednesday and some of the other advanced trainings that we have, even down to the basics of training, like how to strip your gun, how a trigger works, how the action works,
Weapon Craft is the one. If you were thinking about training, Weapon Craft Wednesday is the one I would suggest.
Yeah.
Just because they start out from the beginning, no ammo, no nothing, and you just practice drawing from your holster. That's class 1. And then class 2, they actually go in and you learn how to draw and shoot from the holster.
Yeah.
And they just gradually progress. Then the last Wednesday, they add them all together, and you're drawing from holster, moving, shooting in the dark, doing all kinds of stuff. It's a
That's really cool.
great course.
Well, and to tie this back to football, right? So we're going to continue to tie this back to football. When you went out on Saturdays, you didn't think.
You're not winging it.
It was instinctual, right? You knew exactly what hole to fill based on practice, right?
Yeah.
So it's no different when you're trying to, protect yourself in a crisis situation. Your adrenaline's pumping just the same as if you're playing in front of 100,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Probably more so. And so you gotta. It's the practice and the repetition.
It's funny you guys bring that up because my father-in-law keeps on bringing up this point as well, is that it's not even just us. It's that he wants his wife, he wants my wife, his daughter to get comfortable with it. And I just think about it now. I'm going out of town this weekend for a short bachelor party, and my wife's going to be home. Well, if something happens, she knows my gun's I'm leaving my gun there, right? So it's if something happens, she's got no idea what to do, And so it's not one of those things where it's just the gun owner that's coming in here and getting the training. It's their significant other. It's the people in that household that when that gun's around, they know what they can do and what they can't do with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure, and it's number one, right? Knowledge and training on firearms is the top. I mean, there's nothing else outside of it. You gotta practice with it, and you gotta be comfortable with it, because this is a tool that you're trying to protect your life with, or protect a loved one's life with, or even just a perfect stranger. You know what I mean? Like, look at Indiana, just that happened not too long ago. That guy was able to draw and stop that shooter in that mall. And it's like, you never really know when you're going to find yourself in a situation where you need to be that way. And so it's going back to that training and that repetition. So we had you on here. We're going to try to sell you a little bit. Make sure you're coming in and getting the hookup. We'll hook you up with Mark and Tim and the guys here, and get you hooked up with a training class.
Let's do it. You might make like my father-in-law's year, or multiple years. He's been trying to get myself, the girls. I mean, he's trying to get he's sending out group texts all the time. Hey, when we going shooting? Hey, when we going shooting? He does it all the time. So. No,
we'll all signed up.
I'll bring the crew, man.
Yeah.
We'll have some fun.
Shout out Mark, because Mark will definitely be listening to this for sure. Yeah. He loves it, and I mean, they're a great team. All the training staff are great people, so they'll definitely hook you up for sure. But no, we need to get a bow in your hands too, man. I know we got it. We joked before the call, like, and you had talked about it too, but we joked, you can't miss the Michigan game. Do you remember when we were playing Akron last year, and we were hunting that property you remember I was
the day before it rained?
Yeah, I was streaming.
Actually, I think you're right. I think that Sunday it just downpoured, right?
Yeah, we were out there in it. And the day before we were playing Akron, and no, it wasn't Akron.
But you were watching the game in the tree.
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting? Yeah.
Streaming it from the phone.
Oh, for sure. I had good service. It was like 2-3 bar. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, I'm streaming this thing. Because I like you said, man, like, and that's kind of why even like, I'm 34, and I've only truly been like hunting actively for like the last 6 years. And it's because, like, to me, it's like faith, family, Ohio State football, and then hunting. Like, there's nothing that tops it. And that's just kind of how you grew up with a ball in your hand the entire. I know you're different, but like, I grew up with a ball in my hand the entire time playing all 3 sports, and so
it was mainly baseball for me.
Oh yeah.
I tried football, but just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I got my daughter playing soccer right now at 6 years old. I was like, I coached her Pee-wee team for T-ball, or not Pee-wee, just T-ball team.
Sure.
I coached it, and I'm like, I know baseball. I can coach T-ball. Yep. I can't coach soccer. I was like, I don't know nothing about soccer, so I need to. I'd like to.
When can you start hunting in Ohio?
Well, so it's kind of open.
Season,
kind
right?
of like what time?
Yeah,
or age?
like I'm saying, like if we're deer hunting, right?
If we're deer hunting, the season starts September 24th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
for archery.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the key. If you get into archery, you can maybe pair that up with like an Arkansas State game. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm trying. That's kind of what I'm, or like a Tulsa or somebody like that. Like, that's when you can pair that up with some of those other games. But there's always Sunday or whatever. Like, I'm not a huge NFL guy. Like, I'm more of a college guy, so I give Sundays up to hunting on that side. But or like you get something down and you get something in the morning. Like our opener, the Notre Dame game or some of those other games are like 7 o'clock.
Oh yeah, those night games.
Yeah, so that's like perfect.
Morning,
you can go out early. The only problem is the early season. Typically, you're going out like in the evening. Some people are different, but for me at least, it's like going out in the evening and doing those kind of hunts. So if you get like a noon game and you're out and it's over by 3:30, you got a couple hours to sneak out for sure.
There you go. Yeah. See, I'd be tough to hunt with a game on. I'm one of those screamers, yellers, Get a person who I'm with would be telling me shut the hell up if I had the game streaming.
Well, get him in the blind. We get him in Schlegs. Just get him in the blind.
Yeah, if you get a redneck or something, it's like soundproof.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
We'll go out to Schlegs' farm. We'll do some hunting.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because we're sitting here in Obetz, and we talked earlier too about Cardell coming in. We're still trying to get him on, so Cardell, if you're listening, man, let's talk about this and let's give your side of the story. But Schlegs getting him all set up here and getting him hunting. What he said, like size 14 boots. Like, of course, like he wanted to borrow Schlegs stuff. He's like, bro, I don't wear a size 14. Like, what are you talking about?
So I actually remember this. So during the season, I normally do a show with Cardell called Letterman Row.
Yeah.
And so we'd always get together on Thursday nights normally up at Urban's Pine House, and it's been going on for the past couple of years. Well, it was last year, and it was a pretty big game, and I was asking him, like, what are you doing for it? It was a home game, and my family, we always have a big tailgate and stuff down there, and so I was like, hey, you want to come by the tailgate? Like, I know you're going down there. He goes, no, man. He goes, I was just at Vance's and bought all this stuff because I'm going hunting this weekend.
That's
I go,
fantastic.
you're missing the game? He goes, yeah, man, I'm going hunting. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
All right, Cardell.
No, you can look at his profile, man. He's got like a razor or something. And he's like
Yeah.
ripping it around. Is he still doing the Canadian stuff? I thought he got sent.
You want to know something? He was, but I think I don't think he
was like
did
Edmonton,
this
right?
past year. But then I've heard that he's getting into the XFL. The XFL starts
Yeah,
up this
again,
March,
yeah.
and I think he's getting in the XFL.
Because he was in that the Commanders, right? Well, what's was the XFL? It was the Washington team that he was with.
Yeah,
I
not the
can't-
Commanders,
but-
but yeah,
yeah, I can't think of whatever
And then
the
it
team-
folded, and then
Defenders?
I think Defenders, yeah.
Yeah.
And then The Rock took over, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Rock took over, and they started up again this March, and so I think Cardell's playing in it. So
That'd be cool.
Hopefully, he comes up with a good nickname, right?
I know. I know. You remember when the XFL? I don't know if you remember. Well, it was like the height of WWE or WWE. I don't even know what they were at the time. Do you remember that? It was like in the
but
early
it was
2000s.
it was early 2000s.
And it was
they had
like
all
one
these
or two.
crazy nicknames.
Oh, dude, their jerseys would have like nicknames on them. It wouldn't even be like the person's name. It'd be like something stupid. But it was just like wrestlers basically out there.
Okay.
But it was a good time. But no, man. Well, yeah, we could sit here and go on about football for a while. But it's funny that you mentioned your father-in-law helping you out and stuff, because tying back into that, my father-in-law was the first person that bought me a pistol, as a Christmas gift, and that's kind of transitioned into me buying my own stuff. But it's like, you'll get this way eventually if you have kids, but it's like you spent a lot. I'm sure he'll say the same thing. When did you guys get married? How old were you?
June 25th. It just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's the same age. Your father-in-law has spent the last 30-some years as being the sole protector of her and
Right.
of their kids, and so now you pass that buck and you give it to your son-in-law, and it's a big deal, man.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal. Like, I know how I feel about my daughter just at 6, not to mention another 24 years, and so I think that's one of the reasons too. He probably wanted to get you hooked up with it, because it's like, I want you to protect my baby girl, right?
But it's also one of those cool things. It's like one of those bonding things, right?
Sure.
This
Yes.
isn't
Yep.
just
Yes.
this isn't just going out and grabbing beers. This isn't just sitting at the house and having some pizza and watching football games. This
Yeah.
is like you're going together and making a big purchase.
Yeah.
This isn't just, hey, I'm going out and buying a new pair of sneakers or
Yep.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
This is like a
He's
purchase.
teaching you something. He's bringing you
Exactly.
into his world.
No
Exactly.
doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And it's funny. I tie that back. I didn't even bring this up, but my little brother, he bought his first gun a while ago. My little brother actually loves guns, and
Awesome.
so he bought guns. And then one of the first things he did when he got married is bought his wife a gun. And so
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah.
it's kind of funny how everything comes full circle, but it's crazy to think how buying that gun or kind of passing the buck from that standpoint is just such a big deal
Yeah.
to someone, and such a big deal to a family.
Oh, sure. Especially when it gets to the point where that's something that you pass down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have an old revolver that was my grandpa's before he passed away. Now, whether it meant something to him or not, it still meant something to me, because before he passed away, like, he made sure to show me where it was. Like, they were, going through, and they just, like, it was the Christmas. We were over there for Christmas, and it was the that following January, I think he passed away, and so he kind of knew that he was kind of on the track, and he's like, hey, like, it's in this cabinet behind the door. And so when he passed away, my dad and I, it was just, my dad was the oldest son, I'm the oldest grandson, or the first grandson, and so it's like, that's where it is. And so, like, do I fire it? No, I don't. I mean, it sits in my safe. I don't even. I cleaned it and like, I shot it maybe a couple times, but it's like an old revolver.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, you'll get to that point too, where it's like, you just continue to pass on those family traditions, And so whether it's hunting or just going out and shooting, like, you're passing that on. So it's such a valuable part of the family, like the family tree or family history too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, it was it's such a cool thing. Such a cool thing. But you guys, this is completely off topic, but we're just sitting here kind of shooting shit. You guys have any spear guns here?
spear guns? No, I don't think so. That'd be
No?
sweet though.
Dude, one of the coolest things I did, we did it this past
Florida, right?
January. Oh yeah, we have a place in Florida, so we go down there all the time. We love deep sea fishing.
There you
Yeah,
go. Now you're speaking Ben's language here.
Yeah, love it, man. We go fishing all the time. Getting tuna, grouper, whatever. I like to mess with sharks, but
Well, I didn't even know about that. Here's no whole nother podcast right now. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
No, we love getting into that. But no, we went to the Bahamas this past January as a family, and one morning, my older brother Justin, Jacoby, my dad, and I went with this guide, and we went out spear fishing in the Bahamas. Dude, it was the coolest thing. We came back with like 26
awesome.
lobster. Got multiple fish. It was awesome. The only thing that sucks down there, and this would be a great story to share with Schlegs. If he was here, he'd be able to get it all animated. But down in the Bahamas, you're not allowed a trigger gun, right?
Okay.
So it's all bow. It's all bow, basically, spears.
Yeah.
And so you're going down, you're swimming down like 20 feet in water, and I don't know about you guys. You go down 20 feet, your ears start popping. It's like, oh my God. Well, you're pulling this spear back, and you're basically shooting these fish or shooting these lobsters. The thing that sucks, you miss them or whatever, you're swimming after it.
Yeah.
So we're going down there and shooting this thing, and dude, you're like you can't breathe, and you're swimming after this spear as quickly as possible and coming up. But no, man, it was an awesome time.
Coming up, grasping for air.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if I could swim down 20 feet, hold my breath. Here's what we need to do. We're going to get Zach here. We're going to get Brian. He's going to come teach us how to breathe.
Oh yeah.
Because we'll have Brian on the podcast, Brian Peters, and we'll have him on. He'll teach us how to breathe, and then we'll just go spearfish down the Bahamas. That sounds like a great time, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Brian is, Brian hasn't been on from what you said, but
Yeah.
Brian is trying to do. Do you know Brian? No,
I haven't met him.
Yeah,
Okay,
he was
Brian-
he was at the shop that day with Schlegel.
Yeah. Okay.
He
When
went
he
he went to Pick Central too, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Brian's about as crazy, outdoorsy as you get, right? And so he's doing this whole thing of going out to Hawaii, and he's trying to, in a day's time, they're trying to free dive 100 feet while also climbing a mountain that day. And so, like, the difference in elevation is, like, something that you're not supposed to do, and it, like, break records that they're trying to do. And he's trying to do it all based off his breathing.
His breathing training, yeah.
Off his breathing training.
Yeah, he's an insane dude, man. I mean, of course, he's dating Laura now too, who, by her own right, is pretty wild.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, wow. I think
pun
she's
pun
won Naked
intended.
and Afraid like 4 times.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that?
I haven't.
I
I didn't
didn't
know.
know.
Oh,
she
you
was
didn't
on. I
know? She was
she-
on Naked and Afraid, I think. I shouldn't say 4. I think she was on Naked and Afraid 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And both times won it. And, like, after the second time, I think they they were like, this is kind of too easy for you. So they put her, like, in Antarctica or, like, somewhere freezing cold and naked. And the guy, I think you have to last, like, 21 days on Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
I think the dude lasted, like, a week. And she
Oh,
stayed there for 14 days by herself.
Wow.
Nuts.
Nuts.
That's Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking
another
forward to
level.
it. I'm looking forward to. We're gonna try to get her on too, because that's something that people just can't even fathom. I mean, you have like a show like that. I mean, this podcast is really going all over the place today, but you have a
It
show
is.
like that, and then you have like Alone, like that show Alone,
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's like 100
Yeah.
days or something crazy,
Yeah.
and they don't have the film crew with them like they do in those other ones. I know Kurt. We talked to Kurt about that on their podcast.
He's been trying to do it for years.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Laura did. So Laura, we are going all across the board, right? People are like, who the hell's Laura? But
Laura Zara.
Laura Zara,
Yeah.
yeah. Look her up on Instagram. Everyone knows her from that standpoint. But she goes out in maybe Montana. I forget.
Yeah.
I think it's
I think
Montana.
that's where they're at.
Yeah. Goes out in Montana, became buddies with this guy who owns a plane, will fly her out to this island, and she'll stay there for like 8 weeks on her own. Has nothing. Will take her dog with her.
Yep.
No cabin, nothing. Over time, she's gone there so many times that she's like playing at a garden. But other than that, she lives there for 8 weeks, and in the middle of the wilderness.
That's crazy.
cool.
Yeah. that's
I
pretty-
gave Brian a hard time. He went out there one time for like a week. I go, dude, city boy out there,
Yeah.
ain't gonna
I
cut
know.
it.
I know. Well, he was out there too with Stornix.
Yeah,
I'm
he
saying
was.
that right.
Yeah.
The weightlifting company.
Yeah.
They have a whole thing right now with there's like backcountry or like active hunter or like the whole like CrossFit hunter.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, like they're trying to market to
Cam
that type
Haines
of
kind of
Yeah,
vibe. Yeah.
Sorenex is massive. They do a thing called Winter Strong and Summer Strong.
Yeah,
So they get
yeah.
together twice a year, and Sorenex is known for their weight equipment, right? If you
Yeah.
look at any NFL place, Major League Baseball team, a bunch of them are Sorenex.
Super high-end quality.
Yeah, super high-end. And so, but what they've done is at this Summer Strong, Winter Strong, they basically, it's knife making, it's fire starting,
Yeah.
it's all outdoor stuff. And it's super cool. The owner of the company's name is Bert, huge outdoors guy. They'll do a week long, and it's training on everything, one a day. It'd be like, shooting for a day. It would be, like knife making, carving, all kinds of stuff. And they take each day and do different outdoor activities. It's
That's
actually
cool.
super cool.
That's
It's like
cool.
survival training.
Yeah.
It is. It's survival training.
Yeah.
Cool. You're right. And they
Cool.
take each day to go over a different survival thing. Yeah.
I think the
That's
one I saw, they were doing like long range shooting after they did like some physical exertion. So they were like doing like some type of weightlifting or some type of aerobic exercise or whatever, and then they were coming in and they had to cycle their breath and make a shot on distance, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So Cam Haines is really connected with them too, which
I
is
remember
like a
seeing him
perfect
on
fit.
his video. Do you know who Cam Haines is? Cam Haines.
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen the weights on his videos that he does.
Yeah.
But he's a big lift, run, shoot. That's his thing. Like
Okay.
every day he runs a marathon and then he goes and lifts weights and then he shoots his bow.
He's
Yeah,
nuts.
and if he was out, that's probably how I know him. Just
Probably,
if he was out
maybe,
there,
yeah,
Strong
he
or
was in
Summer
connected
Strong.
with them.
Yeah.
So, well, man, that's all I got for you today. I know we kind of went around, but yeah. So, first time gun buyer, come in. To kind of recap that, you come in. Not only do you are able to purchase a gun, you can literally try out everything that we have over here. It just about matches everything that we're selling, and so. If you got your eye on something over there and you want to try it, right there it is for you. So, yeah, we'll have to get you in and keep you trained up, keep that mind sharp.
We'll do it.
Keep that mind sharp,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the guys would love to have you here. So, Zach, appreciate you coming in today, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
problem.
And thanks to Vance Outdoors.
Perfect.
This is a great place, and yeah, man, I can't wait to keep coming here and buying more and more guns. And like you said,
bows.
maybe it's a thing of passed down to my future kids one day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I
Awesome.
appreciate it.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you. All right, everyone, that is all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Zach. We had a great time talking with him about his time playing for Ohio State and his experience shopping for his first pistol with us. As always, we appreciate you listening, and until next time, enjoy the pursuit.